I was in a car accident on my way to the city hospital for my prenatal checkup. In a panic, I called Ethan, my husband. His college friend was the head of a department at the hospital, and with just one call from Ethan, they could open a priority lane for me, but he hung up on me 3 times in a row, then impatiently sent a voice message, "Sarah, what do you want? Vivian is seriously injured and hospitalized right now. Can't you just let me quietly stay with her for a while?" Clutching my severely aching lower abdomen, I weakly sent him a voice message, "Ethan, I was in a car accident, and my stomach hurts terribly. I'm afraid something might happen to the baby." The message was sent, but it was blocked by the recipient. Staring at the bright red exclamation mark on the screen, I realized Ethan had blocked me. 4 hours later, having narrowly escaped death, I was pushed out of the operating. I miraculously survived, but the doctor informed me that the baby didn't make it. I stared blankly at the hospital room ceiling, my hands unconsciously resting on my lower abdomen, as 2 streams of tears uncontrollably slid down my cheeks. "Ethan's the one he couldn't forget," updated her social media status. In the video, she and Ethan were having a candlelight dinner, and Ethan gently kissed her forehead. The caption read, "Accidentally cut my hand while chopping vegetables today. Big brother immediately rushed to take me to the hospital out of concern. The happiest thing in the world is having you by my side," but their happiness only struck me as incredibly grating. After a 7-year relationship, I suddenly felt weary. The next day, I was discharged from the hospital. The doctor said I was weak after the miscarriage and needed at least 7 days of rest. I took a leave of absence from Aurora and rested at home. Returning to home, the familiar layout felt strange, as if a lifetime had passed. The sudden changes over the past 2 days had made me see many things clearly. Re-examining this relationship now, I suddenly realized that for most of our 7-year relationship, it was me who constantly compromised. Because I loved Ethan, I repeatedly backed down. The baby didn't make it, becoming the final straw that broke me. The baby was gone, and I didn't want Ethan anymore either. I planned to find a place and move out, then formally ask Ethan for a divorce. 10 o'clock at night. I had just finished my evening routine and was about to go to bed when Ethan pushed the door open and returned. His face was alight with a joyful expression. He seemed to be in a very good mood. Seeing me gently wiping away tears, he snapped out of his reverie. Remembering I had been pregnant, he seemed a bit flustered, asking me softly, "Honey, are you feeling unwell today? Does your stomach hurt?" His gaze, however, didn't linger for a second on my already empty lower abdomen. It didn't matter anymore. My forehead rested against the window glass, my tears long since dried. He suddenly remembered something, his voice filled with apology. "Honey, I didn't answer your calls earlier today because something really important came up. You wouldn't believe it. Vivian accidentally cut her finger while chopping vegetables, and the injury was quite serious." A serious injury from cutting a finger. I suddenly felt like laughing, but when Ethan's arm instinctively reached to hug me, I suddenly felt disgusted, forcefully shaking off his hand. "Don't touch me, and don't call me honey anymore." He instinctively wanted to lose his temper but restrained himself, letting me continue venting. He even carried me back to the bedroom. "Sarah, drink some water." Seeing me still turned away, not sparing him a glance, Ethan finally grew a bit impatient. "You're acting like this just because I didn't answer a few calls today? You never used to be so nitpicky, holding on to such small things." He was about to say more when his phone buzzed twice. After seeing the message, his expression changed, and a smile appeared on his lips. His tone, however, remained cold when he spoke to me. "Since that's how it is, you can sleep here alone. I'll go to the guest room, and is just my mother's goddaughter. If there was anything between us, it would have happened ages ago. You wouldn't be in the picture. Stop imagining things." I had heard that line from Ethan countless times. In the past, I would have had a huge argument with him, but now I was numb, simply nodding mechanically to show I understood. Ethan hadn't expected my reaction to be so flat and felt an inexplicable unease. He leaned closer, patiently explaining, "Sarah, Vivian and I have known each other longer than we've been dating. I truly only see her as a sister. Besides, I married you. What more could you be unsatisfied with?" I silently watched Ethan, feeling as if I had never truly understood the man before me. His tone made it sound as if our marriage was a favor he bestowed upon me. A mix of emotions swirled in my heart as I fixed my gaze on the man. After a long moment, I heard my own voice, "No, let's get a divorce." Saying those words, I surprisingly felt a sense of lightness wash over me. "Sarah, what did you say?" Ethan looked utterly incredulous. For the past 6 years, most of our arguments had started with him throwing a tantrum and breaking things, and ended with me humbly appeasing him. But no matter how much we fought, we had tacitly agreed never to mention divorce. Sarah, what exactly are you doing? We've been married for 7 years, and you're expecting a child soon. Can't you be more sensible? Ethan looked at me impatiently. He knew my love for him and never thought I'd be willing to divorce him, believing my mention of divorce was just me having a tantrum. I didn't. Before I could finish, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and answered it casually. Ethan, the wind on the rooftop is so strong, and I feel so terrible inside. Ethan and I were very close, and Vivian's voice on the phone was heard by me. Every single word. Vivian, don't cry yet. Tell me where you are. I'm coming to find you now, Ethan said, putting on his overcoat, ready to leave. Ethan walked to the door, then turned and said to me, I don't have the energy to appease you every day. Think it through carefully. You're pregnant and want a divorce? Who would want a woman with a past and a child? With that, he slammed the door shut. I watched Ethan's retreating back, feeling like a joke. After years of marriage with Ethan, he had never once appeased me. Yet, because another woman was upset, he rushed over late at night to comfort her. That night, Ethan out all night. The next day, I began packing my suitcases. Aside from essential items, everything related to Ethan was thrown away. Matching outfits, matching necklaces, the Polaroid camera, the stuffed animals from the arcade. All objects holding memories of Ethan were tossed into a large bag. While clearing these things, I suddenly realized that most of my possessions were connected to Ethan. The items to be discarded filled 4 large sacks, but the things I intended to take with me only filled 2 storage bins. It took me a full 5 days to clear out the home, but I had made up my mind. From now on, my memories would no longer include anything related to Ethan. During those 5 days, Ethan never came home once. There were no messages on my phone either. Through social media status, I learned about Ethan's activities during these days. Every single one. He took her to the amusement park, peeled shrimp for her, played kissing games with her. Every time Vivian posted a new update, she would specifically message me privately, and even sent over intimate photos and videos of them. Looking at the screen full of provocations, I no longer felt the slightest interest. Ethan bought Vivian everything she wanted, matching rings, necklaces, earrings, and so on, all clearly expensive. I looked at my somewhat rough hands. Since being with Ethan, I had gradually become a homemaker. Time had long worn me down. When my successful senior classmates from college would ask why I didn't pursue further studies, I could only manage an awkward smile each time. Now, thinking back, it turned out that in the years I spent with Ethan, I had completely neglected myself. After choosing a relatively affordable house I arranged with the landlord to view it tomorrow. If it worked out, I could move in tomorrow. That evening, Ethan returned. His face darkened when he saw the 2 suitcases on the floor. Sarah, are you really leaving? Ethan seemed to realize his recent habit of staying out all night had been excessive, and asked, feeling guilty. I nodded. Seeing my calm reaction, Ethan felt an inexplicable sense of crisis well up inside him. He moved closer, cautiously embracing me, and softly said, Sarah, please don't be angry, okay? Vivian is just my sister. If you're unhappy, once she feels better, I won't see her again. I looked up, and just then, I saw a bright red lipstick stain on his collar. I instantly felt a wave of nausea, broke free from his embrace, and coldly said, no need. I wish you both happiness. Ethan stumbled back from my push, and his impatience returned. Sarah, how long are you going to keep this up? In past arguments, as soon as Ethan's attitude softened even a little, I would be able to console myself. This time, Ethan had actually made a rare promise, yet I was still giving him the cold shoulder. He stopped pretending. Just give me a straight answer. Are you sure you want a divorce? I silently watched Ethan, memories of his unlimited indulgence and Vivian's provocations flashing through my mind. But in the end, I didn't tell Ethan about those intimate photos and videos. Even if I had, he would have countless excuses to justify himself. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Simply turning and walking back to the bedroom, Ethan was frustrated and followed me into the bedroom, continuing to vent. Sarah, why are you being so cold-blooded? Vivian is my sister. Her boyfriend mistreated her, so I just took her out to clear her head these past few days. I came back immediately after comforting her. I truly don't know what you're making such a fuss about. Next is our 7th. I've already booked the restaurant in advance. I'll definitely give you and the baby a surprise then. Please don't be mad, okay? Hearing's words. Tears of anger welled up in my eyes. I couldn't forget that he had hung up on me 3 times when I was in a car accident, leading to the loss of our baby. Yet here he stood, as if bestowing a favor, still wanting to give the baby a surprise. I glared at him, then coldly stated, I've terminated the pregnancy. Let's get a divorce as soon as possible. Please don't harass me anymore. Sarah, what did you say? You had an abortion? Ethan looked at my stomach in shock. Do you know what you're saying? Ethan's emotions seemed to spiral out of control as he roared at me. I told you to terminate it before. But you said the baby's arrival was fate. And we've been married for 7 years. Now that you've finally gotten what you wanted, you're telling me you had an abortion? Are you kidding? That's the child you worked so hard for all these years. Taking medicine to nourish your body. Enduring all those fertility injections in your stomach. How can you just decide you don't want it? Hearing's roaring words. My heart bled. Indeed. For years I had tried every traditional remedy and alternative treatment to conceive a child. I even had many fertility injections at the city hospital. Now I finally realized that it was my own insecure nature that made me want to tie him down with marriage and a child to feel secure. Back then, I even foolishly asked him if he would love me more if I got pregnant. I never imagined that just as I felt my years of love had finally culminated in what I hoped for, the car accident happened. My first reaction was that I absolutely had to save this child. Nothing could happen to my baby, but the calls I made to Ethan in that moment of crisis were hung up on again and again. Eventually, I was even blocked. Waking up from unconsciousness in the city hospital, when I learned the baby was gone, I didn't feel the sadness I had expected. Instead, I felt a sense of relief. I had been too fixated on having a home with Ethan, and in doing so, I had trapped myself, made my own predicament. The moment I let go of that obsession, I felt an unprecedented lightness and peace of mind. I was sorry to my child, and I was sorry to myself, but I had a clear conscience when it came to Ethan and our relationship. Even with the divorce, I had no regrets regarding Ethan. You're still having a tantrum, trying to trick me, right? Ethan looked at my lower abdomen, still holding on to hope. I'm telling you, my patience has limits. Don't think I'll give you unlimited indulgence just because you're pregnant. If you push me too far, even if you give birth, I won't acknowledge the child. Seeing my silence, Ethan began to speak cruel words without restraint. He was always like this. When he was angry, he could say the most heartless remarks. In the past, his cruel words always hurt me, and I would cry silently. But now I no longer loved him, and he couldn't hurt me anymore. Ethan was about to say something else when his phone buzzed. He picked it up, glanced at it, and his expression subtly changed. Next morning is our 7th. Remember to come. Don't ever try to threaten me with the child again, or I really will leave you, Ethan said, then walked away without looking back. I watched Ethan's departing back, a bitter feeling spreading through my heart. How could he possibly think that I would continue to love him after such coldness? That night, I fell asleep very late. The next day, I went to look at the new house I was very satisfied with the house. The landlord said the house was bought for his son's wedding, but his son had settled abroad, so he decided to sell it and hoped I would take good care of it. I readily agreed, signed the contract on the spot, bought the house, and then called a moving service to have my belongings moved over. That evening, I had just finished tidying the new house and was about to shower when I suddenly received an unknown call. I answered it, puzzled, and then heard Ethan's voice from the other end. My love, you smell so good. Oh, Ethan, you're so naughty. Then came Vivian's voice. Her seductive voice was accompanied by heavy breathing. How is it? Are you happy? You like me in black stockings, right? I brought them especially today. Ah, Ethan, don't rush. I instantly realized what those sounds were. My stomach churned with disgust, and I immediately hung up the phone. My leave was over, and I was preparing to return to Aurora for work. As soon as I arrived, I learned that Lucas from the Lou was coming for an inspection. My automotive was a car company, and the Lou was a leading automotive enterprise. It had taken me half a year to convince the Lou to invest in our company. The partnership had been secured a month ago, with the Lou's first investment being $800 million. I just hadn't expected Lucas to suddenly come for an inspection that morning. Even more unexpectedly, Vivian came with Lucas. She had somehow managed to become Lucas's secretary. As the primary person in charge of this project, it was only natural for me to step forward and lead. When I faced Vivian, my expression was normal, maintaining a high level of professionalism. Lucas was very satisfied with our company. During lunch break, I went to the break room to get water, and Vivian followed me in. Seeing that only the two of us were in the break room, she said quietly, "Why did you hang up when I called you that day? Was my performance better than yours?" Vivian looked at me provocatively. "I have rather selective tastes. I never watch free adult films," I retorted, then prepared to leave. Vivian blocked the doorway, preventing me from leaving, and continued, "I heard Ethan doesn't want you anymore, and your baby became a bastard. What are you going to do? Watch your mouth." I didn't want to get further entangled with Vivian and tried to squeeze past her. But unexpectedly, Vivian violently pulled me, then splashed the scalding hot tea directly onto me. Then she shrieked, "Sarah, what did I ever do to you? Why would you pour such hot tea on me?" Her voice immediately attracted everyone's attention in Aurora. Countless people rushed to the break room. Vivian, under the probing gazes of the crowd, raised her reddened arm, looking on the verge of tears, and said pitifully, "Ms. Sarah, your husband and I are truly innocent. If you're angry, it's my fault for you to pour such hot tea on me. As long as it makes you feel better, I'll endure 2 more cups." I stared at Vivian in shock. Her speed of changing expressions was truly remarkable. "Ms. Sarah, do you have a problem with my people?" Lucas stood in the middle of the crowd, backing Vivian up. "Sarah, what happened?" Davies looked at me, anxious and angry. He was afraid Lucas might get angry and cancel the agreed-upon investment. Clutching my lower abdomen, which was burning from the scalding tea, I frowned and said, "Davies, Lucas, there's surveillance in the break room. Why don't we check the footage to see exactly what happened?" Davies and Lucas both agreed instantly. "Checking surveillance is too much trouble. It's okay if I suffer a little. Don't let it affect the cooperation." Vivian spoke nervously. Her action was purely impulsive. She hadn't considered the surveillance cameras. Davies was afraid our conflict would jeopardize the agreed cooperation, and Lucas also wanted to know if I was deliberately trying to embarrass him. So, no one listened to Vivian, and everyone headed to the security office. On the way to the security office, Vivian took a picture of her swollen arm and texted Ethan, "I ran into Sarah at Aurora, and what she did was understandable. It's my own fault." Lucas's face turned ashen as he watched the security office footage. "Vivian, you don't need to come to work tomorrow. Furthermore, regarding the cooperation between our two companies, I will establish a dedicated company upon my return, and the new company will be solely managed by Sarah." Lucas's words effectively brought an end to this unexpected incident. "Enough! How can so many of you gang up on a young girl like Vivian? Aren't you ashamed?" When arrived, he happened to hear Lucas scolding Vivian, and immediately shielded her behind him. "Vivian, don't worry. With me here, no one can bully you," Ethan said, looking at Vivian gently. Vivian nodded, tears in her eyes, and choked out, "Ethan, please don't argue with Sarah because of me." "Vivian, don't worry. I'll handle everything from now on." Ethan held Vivian's hand, his eyes filled with affection. After comforting Vivian, Ethan stood up, walked over to me, and angrily said, "If you have any grievances, take them out on me. Don't involve innocent people." "Sir, the surveillance shows that Ms. Vivian poured the water herself to frame Ms. Sarah." Davies stepped forward promptly to explain for me, even showing the surveillance footage to Ethan. Ethan's face changed again and again after watching the footage. "Vivian, how could you do such a thing?" After a long pause, Ethan finally managed to squeeze out a sentence. Watching's reaction, my heart felt heavy, with a mixture of bitterness and sadness, towards who was blaming the victim. His attitude was as gentle as a spring breeze. But for me, who had been wronged, he offered no apology. Perhaps he and Vivian were true love, but it no longer mattered. I had completely let go and moved on, allowing them to be together. Ethan left Aurora with Vivian, who had been fired. Lucas felt indebted to me, so he quickly registered a new company in Europe and heavily invested in promotion for our new energy vehicles. Sitting in the boss's chair at the European, I felt an unreal, dreamlike sensation. In just 3 days, I had leapfrogged from assistant president of the company to the head of the European. It was Monday and home. Ethan arrived at the bistro at the agreed time to celebrate our anniversary, but holding a bouquet of flowers. He waited from 8 in the morning until 12 noon, yet my figure never appeared. Ethan watched the stream of people entering and exiting the restaurant, growing anxious. The inexplicable sense of unease resurfaced in his heart. He wanted to send a message asking what time I would arrive, but when he opened WhatsApp, he realized he had blocked me a few days ago, so he unblocked me from his blacklist and texted, "Are you coming or not?" But as soon as the message was sent, he immediately received a notification: the recipient has enabled friend request. You are not yet their friend. Please send a friend request first. You can chat after the recipient accepts your request. Ethan was stunned, never imagining I would dare to delete him. He wanted to throw a tantrum, but he knew there were more important matters at hand, so he temporarily held back and dialed my number. "Hello, the user you have dialed is out of service area. Please try again later." Hearing the automated message on the phone, Ethan's unease grew even stronger. He rushed home at top speed. Opening the door, he saw that the home was completely empty. All my belongings had vanished. Couple's items, mementos of our relationship, which held our shared memories, were nowhere to be found. Where our photos used to be, now only the photo frame remained. Ethan instantly realized the seriousness of the situation and prepared to go out and look for me. It was then he suddenly realized he had never paid attention to where I liked to go. He had no idea where to even begin searching. Ethan sank dejectedly onto the sofa, staring blankly at the empty house. The house was empty, and it seemed his heart had emptied with it. Just then, his phone vibrated. Ethan glanced at it, then turned off the screen. It was Vivian calling. Ever since he saw the surveillance footage at Aurora that day, he hadn't known how to face her, so he simply avoided her. He hadn't expected the seemingly sweet and innocent Vivian to have such a side in private. So, was Sarah angry and ignoring him because of Vivian's provocations? But he could explain that the person he truly wanted to marry had always been Sarah, and Vivian was just a temporary novelty. As thought this, his phone vibrated again. He thought it was Vivian's call and was about to silence it when he saw it was his old friend, Bennett, who worked at the city hospital. "Hello, Ethan. Tell your my love to find time to come back to the city hospital for a follow-up. A checkup is needed within 2 weeks after a miscarriage." Miscarriage? When did she have surgery? Why didn't you tell me? Ethan's head buzzed when he heard the word miscarriage, and he angrily accused Bennett. "Your love was in a car accident, and the baby didn't make it," Bennett explained. Then he asked, "Didn't you know? Car accident? When? Sarah never told me." Ethan spoke excitedly. When I wanted to tell Ethan about the car accident, he had already blocked me, so he never knew about it from start to finish. Suddenly hearing about my car accident from Bennett, something flashed through Ethan's mind. "You really didn't know?" "The 13th. I think it was the week before last. There was a 3-car pileup, and your my love was unconscious when she was brought in." Bennett recalled the situation from that day. "Okay. I understand. I'll talk to her later." Ethan hung up the phone, distraught. Everything that had happened these past few days now connected, and he suddenly understood. He understood why I had suddenly called him that day. He also understood why my personality had changed so drastically afterward, and why I was so insistent on divorcing him. Ethan pulled up his call log. On the morning of the 13th, he had hung up on Sarah 3 times, just to comfort Vivian, who was in a bad mood. He even found her annoying and blocked her. But at that time, she was in a car accident. Those 3 calls from her were actually calls for help. Ethan was filled with regret. If he had answered the phone then, would things have turned out differently? How frightened Sarah must have been during the car accident, and with what feelings did she make those desperate calls for help? Thinking this, Ethan regretfully slapped himself twice. He recalled Sarah's joyful expression when she first learned she was pregnant. She had been so excited for this child to arrive. Ethan's heart was filled with intense regret. He had to find Sarah. He had to apologize to her in person. Ethan hurriedly stood up, and just as he stepped out the door, he collided head-on with Vivian, who had just arrived. "Ethan, where are you going?" Vivian blocked Ethan, looking at him with teary eyes. "Ethan, do you hate me that much? Do you really not want to see me?" "Vivian, we'll talk about our issues later. I have something more important to do right now," Ethan said dismissively, opening the car door, ready to go find Sarah, but wouldn't give up the chance to see Ethan, so she quickly opened the passenger door and sat inside. "Vivian, stop acting up. I really have something very important to do." Ethan was exasperated by Vivian's antics and couldn't help but yell at her. Vivian looked at Ethan in surprise, her eyes red. Ethan had always been a gentle, refined gentleman with her. He had never been angry with her, let alone yelled. Seeing like this, Vivian grew even more flustered, and with a sob, she asked, "Ethan, what do you really think of me?" Vivian's tears used to make Ethan's heart ache, but now he only felt annoyance. He looked at Vivian's tear-streaked face and snapped, "I only see you as a sister. Can you please stop clinging to me?" Hearing's words, Vivian cried even harder, hitting Ethan while sobbing. "You didn't say that before. Stop crying. It's annoying," Ethan said irritably. "I just wasn't willing to only sleep with Sarah my whole life. I would never marry you. And you yourself willingly threw yourself at me. Aren't you just free for anyone to play with?" Ethan spoke with righteous indignation. Vivian stared at Ethan, dumbfounded, even forgetting to cry. "Ethan, you bastard!" Vivian angrily slapped Ethan, then got out of the car, crying, and ran away. Ethan watched Vivian's retreating figure, lit a cigarette in frustration, then pulled out his phone and called all my friends, asking if they had been with Sarah recently. But after making a round of calls, he discovered that I hadn't been in contact with anyone recently. Ethan smoked a whole pack of cigarettes, finally deciding to go to Aurora to inquire about my situation. He had caused a scene at Aurora recently and had initially been too embarrassed to go back, but now he couldn't care less. Ethan drove to Aurora, but before he could even enter, he was stopped by the security guard. Ethan had become a person of particular interest for the security team. Ethan was anxious but could only explain, "I'm here to find my love. Look, this is her. Is she from your Aurora?" Ethan showed a photo of us together. The security guard glanced at it and said, "It's no use letting you in. She hasn't been to Aurora for several days." Ethan returned to home, disheartened. He didn't know where I had gone. He felt like such a fool. When I loved him, he took advantage of her devotion. He hurt and exploited her relentlessly. It wasn't until I left in disappointment that he realized his world couldn't be without me. But it was too late. Ethan searched every place we had ever been together but couldn't find me. He dialed my number repeatedly, but each time he received the recipient is out of service area message. Across the ocean, I arrived in Europe alone, and I was still adapting to some of the living habits. But seeing the company Lucas invested in improve day by day, this joy dispelled the homesickness of being in a foreign land. Every day, I came to Aurora full of energy, coordinating various tasks. I never thought about Ethan again. My daily work was so demanding that I even read project proposals while taking a bath, leaving no time to think of him. Although this job was tiring, the thought of achieving financial freedom once it was done made me feel incredibly energized and motivated. A month later, the branch, under my management, was beginning to take shape. Lucas was very pleased, even commending me at a major meeting. 6 months later, the branch's project had gained recognition in the industry, and my name was frequently mentioned by industry leaders. I had achieved half of my goal of financial freedom. I happened to hear about Ethan from friends and home. My friends said that after I left, he frantically searched for me, harassing every one of my friends, trying to find out my whereabouts. They knew I had suffered a great deal in that relationship, so they tacitly agreed not to give Ethan my address, but still somehow found out my address. One day, as I left Aurora after work, I unexpectedly ran into Ethan, who was waiting there. "Sarah!" Ethan's eyes lit up when he saw me, and he excitedly took 2 steps forward. I quietly watched Ethan. In just half a year, he looked significantly older. The young man now looked like an older man, his eyes full of exhaustion. "Sarah, I finally found you. Will you please let me finish what I have to say?" Ethan looked at me cautiously, afraid that I might slip away from him again. I nodded, standing still. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I know I was wrong," Bennett called. "And that's when I found out you were in a car accident. It was my fault. I've completely cut ties with Vivian now. Will you forgive me?" Ethan looked at me nervously. "I've received your apology," I said, then walked past Ethan, opened the door of the Bentley, and got in. Sarah, please forgive me. I can't live without you." In the rearview mirror, Ethan's figure grew smaller and smaller, his voice gradually fading. I took a deep breath, took a mint from the car, and put it in my mouth to suppress the nausea churning in my stomach. In the past 6 months, I had grown and seen many things clearly. Ethan wasn't regretting losing me. He was just regretting losing an easily replaced partner. His regret was ultimately for himself, not a genuine acknowledgement of his mistakes. He didn't deserve to be forgiven. I didn't expect that when I went to work the next day. Ethan was still waiting at the Aurora entrance. "Sarah, this is the homemade breakfast I made myself. It's still warm. Please try it." Ethan eagerly handed me the meal box, looking at me expectantly. "Sorry, I don't dare to eat anything from strangers." I looked at Ethan calmly. "Also, can you please stop bothering me in the future? Your behavior really annoys me." I had long seen through his selfish nature. With that, under Ethan's shocked, wronged, and bewildered gaze, I walked straight into Aurora. "Please pay more attention to suspicious individuals around the premises from now on. Don't let them find opportunities to sneak into Aurora," I said to all the staff as soon as I arrived at Aurora. The command was disseminated, and security patrols were intensified. With my instructions, Ethan would be driven away even if he loitered near Aurora. Europe was not like home. When people here became agitated, they often pulled out guns and acted. Ethan didn't dare to get into a conflict with them. I had some peace for a while, though I'd occasionally spot Ethan sneaking around. It was fine as long as he didn't bother me. I just didn't expect him to find me at home. One time, when I came home early, I was startled to see Ethan sneaking around near my private. To people in love, this kind of behavior might seem affectionate, but to me, it was just terrifying. Ethan saw me and excitedly ran over. This time, no one was there to stop him. "Can we talk?" Ethan asked nervously. I sighed resignedly. I found a dessert, and Ethan and I sat down facing each other. After we each ordered some light snacks, Ethan gazed at me affectionately. "Sarah, I truly know I made a mistake." Ethan pleaded urgently. I nodded, waiting for Ethan to continue. "Please forgive me. I truly can't live without you. We were 7 years of marriage. With such a long relationship, can you really just let go?" Ethan continued. As he spoke with emotion, he reached for my hand, but I recoiled in aversion. Ethan noticed my aversion and looked hurt. I took a sip of coffee and said, "I've received your apology. If that's all you wanted to tell me, then you can leave now. If your apology is meant to earn my forgiveness, then I'm sorry. Some mistakes just aren't worth forgiving." Ethan's expression changed when he heard my words. "Is there really no chance for us to reconcile? I've changed. I won't let you suffer any more grievances. Please give me another chance. I promise I won't let you down." Ethan, still unwilling to give up, pressed on urgently. "Let's not dwell on the past." I looked calmly at Ethan and spoke slowly. Ethan understood my meaning, and his expression grew complex. Neither of us spoke again. Just as I was about to leave, Ethan stood up, walked over to me, and solemnly said, "Sarah, I wronged you. I brought this fate upon myself. Go." I didn't say anything harsh to Ethan, but I had already made my stance clear. "Can I ask you one last question?" Ethan asked cautiously. "Go ahead." I picked up my purse and stood, waiting for Ethan to ask his final question. Even though I no longer loved him, he was still the one who had occupied my entire youth. I was willing to preserve some dignity for both of us. "If I had answered your phone that day, would things have turned out differently?" Ethan looked at me with an expectant expression. Hearing's question, I almost wanted to laugh. How could I tell him that his years of disregard and superficiality were the real reasons I decided to let go, and that the car accident that day was merely the straw that broke the camel's back? He really was ridiculously immature. I took a deep breath, met Ethan's expectant gaze, and slowly said, "Ethan, grow up." Under's bewildered gaze. I left him with one last statement. "When you've truly come to terms with things, you won't ask me questions like that." With that, I left the dessert. Ethan called out behind me, "Sarah, I know you look down on me now, but as long as you're not married, I have the right to pursue you." I covered my ears, unwilling to listen to Ethan's cringy remarks. After that day, I never saw Ethan again. Perhaps he returned home. My career soared, and even corporate started looking at me differently. I returned home to attend the group's annual. At the annual, Lucas said that the branch offices he opened in each district were initially just strategic investments, not expected to make a profit, but he was so impressed by my outstanding performance that he intended to give me company shares in the group. After the annual, I went home to see my parents. This time, I also brought a man with me. His name was Adam. He was originally my business partner, but as we collaborated, we hit it off immediately and gradually developed feelings that went beyond our professional relationship. I didn't want to marry early, but he insisted on returning home with me for news, so I had no choice but to bring him home. I were surprised to see I had a boyfriend, but seeing Adam's eyes full of concern and thoughtfulness for me, they were reassured. The day after we arrived home, it happened to snow. Adam stood with me in the yard, holding my hand, and said, "My love." I once heard a story when I was a child that if two people in love share a moment in the snow together, they will be together for life. A year later, Adam and I returned home to prepare for our wedding. Friends from home, upon hearing my wedding news, rushed to congratulate us. During our casual conversations, I learned that Ethan and Vivian had a major falling out a while ago. Vivian forced Ethan to marry her. When refused, she lashed out in embarrassment and released private videos of Ethan assaulting her. Knowing he was going to prison, Ethan furiously lunged at her, hitting her 3 times. The last punch made Vivian stumble back, causing her head to hit a rock, and she ended up in a vegetative state. These videos quickly spread through the local community chat, and Ethan immediately became a public outcast. Even his parents were subjected to pointing and whispering whenever they went out. Ethan was facing multiple charges and had been reported to the authorities again by Vivian. His case was currently awaiting trial, but imprisonment was inevitable. To get revenge on Vivian, Ethan also exposed her for breaking up a family and being the mistress. Just 2 years ago, they were so affectionate, calling each other brother and sister. I never imagined they would end up destroying each other. After hearing this, I felt a profound sense of irony. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.